coming in here on Saturday. Obviously, one of a very talented team, a very seasoned offense and defensive line. You know, believe they have 3-4 seniors up front, redshirt juniors and seniors up front, a top 10 defense, top 3 in sacks and tackles for losses, defending conference champions, really good football team, and looking for the opportunity this weekend here at Hard Rock. Questions, please.
Mario, do you play this just like it's a regular game, or do you try to start looking at other guys, other combinations? Like, I mean, when you get toward the end of the season, where's the line as far as you want to maybe get some stuff on film and evaluate some stuff versus just going to play it out and see what happens Saturdays if it's.
I don't think you change for any game. I think we're playing for a lot on Saturday, and there's one and only goal. That's to win the game. So putting our best players on the field, give them the best chance to be successful. That's really the only goal that we have right now.
How much does, everyone used to talk about you get 15 practices for the ball. Nobody really gets that numerous with the scheduled balls and all that. But even getting a handful more, even if it was on 5 or 6 more, how valuable can all these things be as good as?
Well, yeah, as long as you use them the right way, they're ultra valuable, right? I mean, at this point in the season, especially where we're at from an injury standpoint, you can't have your camp-style practices. I've been on teams sometimes where you're almost completely healthy, and you could have some really, really good spring practice type sessions, some more extensive, maybe not camp-like, but just that involve more physicality. But you could really do a lot in terms of technique and fundamentals. You wish some of the rules were different in terms of the redshirt rule and being able to play some additional, or having some guys gain additional time. You can't do that. But the practices themselves, being around the players, activities, building relationships, school's over with. I mean, you have them to yourself like you have them in camp. And that time is always, in my opinion, that's the most valuable time with your players.
One more for me. I know you said on the radio this morning there's a chance for Tyler. Well, what's it say about him that he didn't nail it when he could? You know, he could have just said, you know what, it hurts, I'm done, whatever, let's move on to whatever's next. What's that mean that he's still trying to get out there?
Oh, it means that he's a real one, you know? I mean, like we talk about all the time, football tells the truth now. It will reveal who's tough-minded and resilient and who's able to push through and deal when things are good as well as when things aren't so good. And it also will reveal those that buckle and that will look for, a place to hide if things don't exactly go their way, or look for excuses. I mean, football's a beautiful thing now in terms of helping people learn about themselves, learn about others, about their teammates, about their coaches, about an organization. It's one of the reasons I do love the game, and I think, Tyler's a great example of a guy who's a competitor and wants to do the very best he can by his teammates and his program.
Sending seniors out on a good note, is that something you guys discussed this week?
Always, right? You only have one senior year, right? Well, you have 2. You have one in high school and you have one in college. And in college, you're not always guaranteed, right? Because typically you have teams that have juniors that come out early. But for a lot of guys, it's their last collegiate home game, with the opportunity to play to extend our season. So there's a lot of value to this game. It means a ton. I think everyone that's ever played the game remembers their last home game. We want to make sure that we do everything possible to make it a great memory for all those guys.
Seniors have been here 3 different coaching staffs. Just what does it mean? I mean, you love University of Miami, all that kind of stuff. Just what does it mean to see guys like that stick around? There's been a lot of changes from day one till your senior.
Well, one thing, if you play football or coach it long enough, you learn that change is the norm, right? Change is part of it. Guys that have stuck around, and guys that will stick around, they'll hold up trophies. They will, and they'll have some great moments. And some have been through the ups and the downs of it. But when you go to a school, you choose a school like the University of Miami, you sign up for all of it, all that comes with it, knowing that this university, academically, from a life standpoint, a support standpoint, athletically, is going to give every student athlete everything it has. And I think those guys, they're grateful. I think they've expressed their gratitude, and the best way they can express their gratitude on Saturday is to play as hard as they possibly can. and do everything possible to earn a victory.
Coach, the transfer portal window opens up now in December. Just kind of your thoughts on having a transfer portal window, and then I guess some of the challenges of kind of trying to put the finishing touches on a recruiting class while also trying to identify transfer portal guys without like kind of knowing who's going to be in there. Just some of the challenges that maybe that poses for you guys as scouting.
Well, I mean, the first thing is the most important thing is the game. I think that sometimes we always try to get ahead of ourselves as a society, and what we're doing, we're making sure that every ounce of focus is on this game. The challenge of a transfer portal, I think it's the opposite. I think it's more of the opportunity of a transfer portal. Every single coach in America has the obligation to load up their roster. I know we have the responsibility to make sure our roster is filled with hardworking, tough-minded, resilient, do the right thing on and off the field, high-caliber, athletic, high-character individuals that want to be elite, and are willing to make the commitment and sacrifice to do that. So when that time comes, obviously, there is a plan in place, and one that's executed full throttle, as well as our high school recruiting plan, our junior college recruiting plan. Now even overseas, you find players, right? There's different ways to fill your roster now, and you say it's unlimited, but in reality, it's not, right? You're going to reach a cap at some point in time, but you have to make sure that you're finding ways to improve the caliber of play at each position, right? The quality of depth in terms of young guys, older guys, developmental guys. You really have to plan for now, but also 2 and 3 years out. That, to me, I think is more the challenge, projecting. In terms of the portal itself, I think it's nothing but opportunity, because it works both ways, and at every single school, not everybody's invited back, and at the same time, guys that are seeking more playing time or a situation that's better for themselves, they can do that. And I don't think anyone should judge that. I don't think anyone should be angry at that, That is what it is, and that's what it's there for.
Well, you guys have had a couple guys announce that they will be entering the portal at the end of the season. I'm curious, did you have conversations with those guys? You mentioned, not everybody's invited back. Were those kind of conversations about playing time, and is that kind of why we see this happening now?
Yeah, you have conversations, and you have one obligation to be honest and transparent, some guys are invited back. Some guys have to develop further and become better to be able to contribute. And, for some guys, it's just not the right fit, and for us as a program, sometimes it's not the right fit. But you have one obligation: do right by the players, do right by the program, be honest and transparent. And again, don't judge. I don't judge, you know what I mean? We all have a job to do and an obligation to be the very best we could possibly be. One of my biggest obligations is to make sure that this roster is littered with super high caliber guys, and that those guys are surrounded by more guys, And so, you have conversations. You do, my personal opinion, I do think guys should always finish a season. I don't judge if someone doesn't. I always advise that to everybody, because I sometimes think that you may have regret if you don't finish. But if someone doesn't finish, you don't judge it. You do help them the best you can to find a place for them. So that's my opinion on it.
You talk about having a 2 and 3 year plan, like every coach does and should. But in the portal era, everybody's on 1 year options, whether it's player or team option. It seems like everybody has the option at all times now to go. Is that 3 year plan becoming more and more futile, because you just don't know how much is going to actually get rewritten?
Well, I guess when I say 2 or 3 year plan, when you recruit, there are guys that are going to be great players. They just need developmental time. So you really have to have great sets of eyes. And then you also have the guys that do a really good job digging deep into, how do I say this? The recruiting process needs to be, one of the big is to elevate the recruiting process. You got to dig deep into what's inside. You know what I mean? You got to find out if someone really loves the game, if they want a great education, if they want a great life, if they really want to be involved in the community, if they're willing to put in time, long hours, make commitments, make sacrifices, because that's what comes with this program. That's what comes with being an elite human being, an elite player, an elite student. And if you don't have all those boxes checked, you're kind of rolling the dice, you know? So let's say you in the portal, you hit a grand slam with a phenomenal player at one position. Well, might be a one-year guy. Well, what's coming up behind that? Are you going to try to roll the dice and hope you get a superstar every single year at that position? You got to make sure that you also make the right selections and offers on guys that want to be part of the program, want to develop, and that their time is coming. It may not be right away, but it could be partly right away and then fully in a year or two, you know? So that's what I mean by, so you don't want to overstack at a position because, like you said, with the one-year option, you overstack, you're going to have a lot of one-year options. So.
Coach, how much of this season maybe has been, I mean, you mentioned how important it is to win Saturday. I'm not saying you guys aren't trying to win every single game by any means, but how much of this season has been a feeling out process in the sense of, for example, Jalen Knight, right? You talked about him having to earn those reps again. How much of this season has been a feeling out process with this roster, with these players, where your approach was, win or lose, I need to know who's really in moving forward with this program?
Well, I don't think it's feeling out. I think winning and losing go hand in hand with earning. I don't think there's any separation. I don't think there's certainly no Jedi mind tricks going on over here. What's real is real. You know, I mean, everything that you do throughout the course of the day and the week and that you prove on game day are going to be taken into account as it relates to playing time, right? And then you got to put it on tape. It's got to show in the end. So there's no, I'm trying to guess at what, I'm trying to give you the best answer as it relates to the feeling out thing. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but everything we do is geared towards winning.
First 20 minutes of the second half, Saturday, what did you like? The two touchdowns at the end, almost like you guys were trying to make plays, and when at that point they were. The first 20 minutes just seemed much different.
There was energy. There was a realization that, we could hang, we could do something here. And you get the ball and you cross the 50 and you got a chance to, you take a shot, try to make it you can make it a one-score game with a 2-point conversion, so I'm not trying to make it sound better or worse than it was, but you're winning the second half. And you're doing it by making plays, creating turnovers, playing with a lot of energy, life. You always look at, right, for anything, whether it be your business, your own family, right, football, you always look for people that are willing to just go, no matter what, no clock, no scoreboard, between the lines and snap the whistle, people that'll just go. It's a DNA piece, it's a trait that must be in every single Miami Hurricane. And we saw that from a lot of guys, and I don't know if everybody would bounce back or try that hard, so it was something that, was put on tape and seen on tape. No consolation prize, just acknowledgement. Okay, there's a piece in there that we have. Let's grow that piece. Let's get better.
Coach, you had a conversation with Jakari after the game, came out of the game. Have you talked to him since then?
We talk about it every single day.
The fact that you took him out of the game, some young quarterbacks might have a harder time with that. I guess my question was just, have you had extra thoughts that you essentially believe in him, confidence that he didn't lose his confidence?
We do that with every player every single week. It wouldn't be anything new. We talk to them during the game. We talk to our players after the game. We make sure that they understand that, we're always going to do what gives us the best chance to win. I thought both those guys did a great job handling the situation and both supported each other, which, that's hard to do, man, and hard to find, right? Quarterbacks are willing to do that during a tough time, so I commend both those guys for their response to being in a tough situation.
The first thing you said when you walked in the room was about the heaven.
Yes, sir.
Obviously, we all know the story. Everybody's heard the story, loves the story. It's just one of those all-timers. What has he meant to the room? What's he meant to this group?
He's an absolute stud. That guy is an absolute weapon. You look at some of the stuff that he's created for us, the advantages that he's created in terms of field position and hidden yardage. Lou has been an absolute monster on special teams. You can't ever really pinpoint where he's going to place the ball. And the fact that he could place it and have us in position, because people don't realize how sometimes he holds it, because he could see the rush and feel it while he moves or in place. He can see a missed block. He's got to get it off quicker. He understands the distribution. They had what we call deuces, right? 2 returners back there. That's challenging. Where can I put this ball where neither one of those guys could touch it and give our guys a chance to go cover it? No, he's a exceptional person, exceptional competitor, super hard worker, great teammate. Can't say enough great things about Lou and Andy. Both those guys have been awesome.
With Corey Flag and George Miller about the game injuries, anything you can tell us on which pass their injuries are?
Feel good about both of them. You know, Jordan Miller bounced back very quickly. Corey was a little bit slower in coming out, still being a ballad, but we feel good about him practicing and playing this week.
Thanksgiving?
Sir?
Thanksgiving plan?
Practice. We got practice. We'll have a big team meal. You know, we have so many local guys. We'll have a really big team meal Wednesday night so we could sit down and break a little bread, you know. And I'm used to doing it on Thursdays, but it's different where I was. There were no local guys. Now there's a lot of local guys here. You want to give them time to see their families on Thursday before we round up on Friday, you know, go into the bunker and prepare for the game. So, okay. Thank you guys. Appreciate you.
Thanks, man.
We have offensive coordinator Josh Gattis. We'll go straight into questions.
Josh, you start with Jakari and the night, trying to throw the ball in front of the challenge that he's on.
Yeah, you know, I think, Jakari going into his second start, right? He's a young kid playing on the road for another start. I think it was a learning lesson for him. I think, obviously, he's going to learn from the moments that he had Saturday, and we've got tremendous confidence in him, and we'll keep developing him. He had obviously some good runs that he created, some energy for us, being able to provide, his athletic ability. But then obviously in the protection area and some of the pass schemes, he's going to learn and grow from those. And I think it was a valuable moment for him to continue to grow throughout his career.
How quickly was he able to bounce back? I know that second play has to probably be eating him alive, have X open on a deep pass and just overthrow him. Did you notice he was able to let go that quickly and just kind of move on to the next play?
Well, he's moved on completely from it. Just overall, just met with him yesterday, and he's in great spirits, and he's ready to just continue to learn from things that happen throughout the game. And obviously, when you're a young kid like him, he's resilient. He's obviously shown us that he has the ability to make plays for us, and we've got that confidence in him. And sometimes kids just have a bad night, and it was one of those nights where obviously when you're playing on the road in a hostile environment, there's a lot of pressure on you as a young quarterback. And so we've all got to do a better job around him of making sure that we can keep him poised, keep him calm, and being able to go out there and execute game plan.
Josh, I wanted to ask you about Tyler. I asked Mario the same question too. I mean, when he got hurt, then the season starts going sideways, the easiest thing for him would have been to say, goodbye, the season's over. And Mario indicated that there's still hope that he could get back out there. What's that say just about his willingness to go out there when there's theoretically nothing to play for? No, that's not really the case. But what's that mean? What's that say about him?
Well, he's a true leader. You just look at and let me say this too. He's been there every step of the way throughout the last 5 games, even though he's been out. Yes, we faced a lot of adversity since he's been out, and obviously you've seen the production of the offense decrease. But he's been there. He travels with us on the road. He's there in game days. He's there trying to offer advice to Jakari and to Jake. And he's just been a positive leader, the best leader that he can be. And so you respect him tremendously. Obviously, we respected him tremendously before as a leader, but now you gain even more respect for him. You talk about the competitor he is. He's continuing to try to rehab, and I think they've done a great job throughout his process of just trying to get him caught back up to feeling good again. And he's getting closer. We don't know quite yet where that is, but that's what you want out of your quarterback, someone that's not going to tank it. He's been there in the good times. He's been there in the bad times for us, and we'll continue to lean on his leadership to bring this to a strong end as we get going this week.
Also, I want to ask you have, whether it's 1 or 2 games left, is this the time of year where a coordinator looks at the book and says, I haven't done this yet, I haven't done this yet? Is there stuff that you're hoping that you can get from the book out of the field in these
Well, we've really we've ran almost 3 different offenses this year, having to change the identity of our offense based on our personnel, and I think that's obviously one of the biggest challenges we've had with all the different personnel pieces that we've been missing, whether it's up front, on the perimeter, at the quarterback position. We've kind of changed it week in and week out to build what's best for our players that we have available. And so when you really look back at it, it's not necessarily what hasn't gone in, but, who are we going to be this week, to kind of fit our personnel. So, like I said, it's been 3 different systems for each different quarterback. So, there's a lot that goes into that. Obviously, challenges that we have with the depth up front, there's a lot that goes into it as well. And so, each and every week, it's almost a different mindset of what does it take to beat this opposing team. Based on the personnel that we have available and the things that defense presents to us.
How challenging is that for you, week to week to week? Do you just have, do you sort of just go into each week and limit, hey, this is the only thing we're really going to practice this week? Or how do you sort of, present that week to week?
It's been a tremendous challenge, but we just try to build it off the skill set of the players that we have. I mean, bringing back quarterback run game, getting that involved. I haven't ran the quarterback in years, and so that was a new element, getting it back installed into our offense. Little things like that, things that we necessarily didn't practice in spring or fall camp, just trying to have to build it to build what's best for us, even when you've seen the lack of depth that we had in the running back position. How can we gain a number by using the quarterback in different elements in there? And so it has, but, those are the things that come with the season. You've got to continue to move on. I think when you face adversity, you can't be a guy that's focused on problems. You got to be focused on solutions, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to do that overall as a staff and as a team. We're trying to focus more so on the solutions than the problems that we're faced.
People just look at points and yards and draw their conclusions, and that's that. But when you have had to change not just quarterbacks, but systems on the fly in games, how would you kind of assess how would the kids handle that when they have to go from this sort of thinking to this sort of thinking in an instant? How have the kids adjusted?
The kids have adjusted. It's a lot on them too. Having to learn, different schemes, different things that we're doing, and with all the different pieces, right? We're changing personnel, not just even at the quarterback position, but all throughout our offense. And so it has. And one of the challenges that has really presented lately, it's forced some of our players to have to be unselfish. We haven't taken advantage of the pass game because of some of the personnel things that we're kind of going through, whether that's protection, whether that's pass schemes, throwing the ball. It's also taken away from certain positions, and we've asked certain players to be unselfish, buy into who we have to be that week, and with our identity, and that takes a lot on you. It takes a lot on your players. It takes a lot on your staff, but ultimately, it's our job to try to create offensive success, and points and touchdowns do matter in that element, and obviously that's something on Saturday that we were very disappointed. And I think the thing that stands out the most on Saturday is just the limited amount of reps that we had. We only played 46 offensive snaps. That is a very, very low volume of football. And when you look at it specifically, even in the first half, it was only 16. We've got to be able to maintain drives, not have 3 and outs, and we've got to be able to sustain drives and score points.
Some head coaches are heavily involved in the game planning week to week, some not at all. I guess, how is Mario with you week to week? I mean, obviously with all the injuries, I'm sure he has to have input, but just curious week to week how that plan works with him.
Yeah, Coach has been a tremendous asset and supporter, obviously, for us on all sides of the ball, offense, defense, and special teams. He's a great motivator. He comes in and picks me up in times where I need to be picked up, and I think that's a tremendous value as a leader, someone to also help instill confidence, because we have our tough days too. Trust me, after a loss, it's hard not to have your head down, but Coach is so positive. He comes in every Sunday. He's like, it's time to get back to work. It's time to get back after it. And obviously he is an important piece of our offensive staff. Obviously helps coach our offensive line in there. And so he's very well aware of the challenges that we've gone through. And it's just to find a way each and every week. That's the overall goal, is find a way to be 1-0 however we can be, and allow our players to go out and be as confident as they can so they can go out there and play and have success.
It feels like no matter who their personnel is up front, they've always got a guy with 10 sacks. Just what makes that defense so good year after year?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, they've done a really good job recruiting the defensive line. I think it starts there. I think Obviously, Coach Narduzzi is a ton of respect for him. I've got a history with him from his days at Pitt, and I was at Penn State. But also, Coach Partridge, their defensive line coach, is one of the most respected, obviously, defensive line coaches there is. And he does a really good job recruiting and evaluating. They don't always have the measurables that you would see out of some defensive linemen, but they have really, really good football players. They take the undersized guy that maybe some people overlooked and turn him into an All-American. And so they've done a great job in the recruiting and evaluation part. They've done a great job in the development part. And their scheme allows them to be aggressive up front. Consistently throughout the last, 3 or 4 years, they've been in the top 10 in sacks. And obviously that creates a tremendous challenge for us as we're very well aware of their ability up front. And they've got some really good players.
We'll do a few more for Coach Gattis.
You don't get till 8 o'clock on Thursday, or on Saturday, right? Does that allow you any time to check out another small game happening in the country on Saturday?
Well, yeah, night games are, I always prefer noon games or night games because it does allow you to watch college football. We all are fans of college football. I think it's the greatest sport in America. And so for our kids, it allows us to get tremendous rest leading up to the game, allows those guys to sleep in a little bit later, get some rest, start envisioning the game plan of things that could happen potentially at night, but allows them to relax, watch some college football, kick their feet up, and get their mind ready for a night battle. And I think that's always a bright spot for you. Obviously, when you're playing that on the road, it becomes a long day. I think it's a little easier when you're at home and in your own elements as compared to being on the road. But, we're excited about this game. We've got a lot to play for, a lot on the line. And most importantly, we want to play for our seniors. And we want to make sure that, as this being senior night, that we send these guys out the right way. They've contributed a lot to this program, and they deserve that.
Up in Virginia, Jake decided not to throw the ball for Khalil on that last play, and this Saturday, you called Khalil's number. Jake checks in the game. What went into the process of calling that play?
Yeah, it was pretty much the same play, just a different formation and presentation. And obviously another situation, Khalil's wide open, and, he just trusted the read. I think I won't go back and judge the one in Virginia because we were fortunate enough to score still on it. And, ultimately the quarterback's decision at that point obviously got wide open. Jake could have potentially ran it in this week as well, and he went and trusted his read and threw it to Khalil. Khalil made a good catch on it. And, there's just everyone executing perfectly on a play, and I think that's what we need more of, consistency, reads, throws, blocking, everything, just consistently doing it throughout a game, one rep at a time, every opportunity we get.
So you talked about 3 different offenses throughout the season. Can you talk about maybe the process that this has been like, either extra hours or meetings, you and your staff? Can you just explain maybe what's been going on throughout the season?
Yeah, it's been a challenge. I think everyone's aware of that, just coming in on Mondays, knowing who you're going to have. We've also gone through game planning processes throughout the week where we didn't know if we were going to have a guy available on Saturday because leading up to the game, whether you lose a guy during the week or you're constantly checking in on his rehab process. And, I think not enough goes into that. I think our medical staff, first and foremost, has done a tremendous job trying to get our players back up to full speed. But you've also seen situations throughout the year where we've had guys play on Saturday that didn't necessarily get a chance to practice much throughout the week because of limitations that we've had from an injury standpoint. And so it's been a tremendous challenge. Obviously, it's been a challenging year, especially when you get the amount of injuries on one side of the ball. It's a little bit different, obviously, if you've got injuries, kind of scattered out throughout your roster. But we faced a significant challenge, and there's no excuses to it. We just got to find ways to overcome it. We've got to be focused on the process of finding solutions and not focus on the process of focusing on the problems.
James Jr. didn't make the trip. He suited up, but obviously only 46 plays. Was the plan to get him in the game?
Yeah, eventually we want to try to find an area where we can kind of get Don back acclimated. And last week, and let me say this, even though he was declared back, it was his first week practicing since, 2 weeks into fall camp. So you can imagine for a young man like that, just getting your legs back underneath you, getting your wind back underneath you. They did a great job in the rehab process. Obviously, it was a very significant injury that he went through. But now going through 1 week of practice, hopefully that provides him confidence in his ability, provides him confidence in his body. And then we've just got to continue to find ways to try to acclimate him back into the offense and see what he can do, give him an opportunity and see what he can do for us.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach.
I thank you guys.
Good early afternoon. I hope everybody's getting ready for a great Thanksgiving holiday. I hope you feel like you've been blessed. So happy Thanksgiving to all you guys.
I guess we could start with, just the effort maybe that you got from the second half on. It seemed like the guys were playing real hard.
Yeah, it really, it was, I mean, it is what it is. The loss sting, and it should. That's what we're in the business to do, to win. But realistically, in watching the tape, from the 9:18 mark of the first quarter until the 9-something, I may be wrong on the seconds, but about the 9-minute mark of the first quarter, post the first two drives in which we got kind of nickeled and dime. It wasn't anything big, but it was just 3 yards, 4 yards, 5 yards, 3rd and 1, 2, 3, first down. And that was the story of the first two drives. We just couldn't get off the field. Too many 3rd and shorts, 3rd and low mediums. But from about the 9-minute mark of the first half, the first quarter, till about 5:18 in the fourth quarter, they scored 7 points from the 26-yard line and a field goal in a drive where we had a 15-yard penalty. In that time frame, we had 3 turnovers. We didn't always get off the field on 3 and out, but there was some really good football played in that point in time. And basically, I think gave us an opportunity to make a run at it, set up a score in that time frame, got the ball down, I think, to about the 10 to set up a score. So some really good football. That was because they didn't look at the scoreboard. They just kept playing hard. And really, you can't take the bad away. The bad's the bad. The loss is the loss. But you also got to give credit when credit's due. Those guys did not look at the scoreboard. They just kept fighting. And, I could name the names, but you saw the game. I mean, they just played hard. And in that time frame, there was some really good football played. We just got to put it all together at some point in time. Probably the best, really, second quarter and third quarter that we've played all year long against a very, very good opponent. I mean, not probably, it is. I mean, it's just factual.
Talk about now looking at the scoreboard. They do that better this week than they? There have been some games where seemingly one thing goes wrong.
Yeah, you and I can't really say if they did or they didn't. But like you said, seemingly it looked like external factors affected them. And we got to grow past that. That's just what good teams do. I don't think that was the case at all the other night, at all. In fact, far from it.
Cam Kitchens, I mean, obviously he had the 3 picks the week before, but leading the team with the 13 tackles, forcing the fumble. Is there just something that, I mean, I know he puts in a ton of work and we've heard all the film stories, but is there something that just at a certain point started to click with him where now he's always in the right spot where he needs to be?
Well, yeah, there's something that clicked. It's called being a pro, doing your job. But more importantly, he's a really smart guy anyway. If you've ever been around Cam at all, I mean, he's highly intelligent, does well in school. But you know, I've been around guys that didn't like school that were very intelligent football players. And that's not the way it's supposed to be. I'm just being real with you. And he's just a smart guy, and he's really studied like a pro. I mean, he approaches the game like guys did when I was in the NFL. Like, this is my job. It's a full-time job. I've got to work every day at my craft, in the film room, extra. That's who he is. And so he's going into games very confident, but he's also going into games knowing what he's supposed to do, but better yet, knowing what they're going to do.
And Akeem Mesidor had the 2 sacks, the forced fumble. I know we've talked about him before, but just the effort that he's given even late in the year.
Right. Well, the big thing that we're trying to build here is where we have a collective group that have a competitive spirit, that every play, they just play with relentless effort and affect the game. And he kind of does that naturally. It's just in his DNA. On top of that, he's a very good athlete, very powerful, can run, but he's got a high motor. You know, he practices that way. I mean, what you see on Saturday, you know, sometimes when you watch younger guys or you're developing a program, you'll see a different guy on Saturday than you do on practice tape. You've heard, you know, he's a gamer. He didn't practice very well, but he's a gamer. Well, there's, you know, my experience, maybe I'm wrong, there's very, very, very few of those guys. But his practice tape looked like his game tape, so it's not a surprise.
What is Darryl Jackson giving you this season, and then just another young guy, but what do you envision for his next step as a player?
Just keep improving. What he's given us, he's a big, powerful man that has a really unique personality, because I don't know if you've been around him very much, but he's very talkative. He's a strong leader, very talkative, smart guy, but he's a huge man, and he's very powerful. So he can command double teams, and if you don't stay on him with a double team. And so what people, I don't know if you've noticed it, but a lot of teams run away from 6. A lot of teams, which has allowed us later in the year to overload some things away from him, because he you know, he can eat up space.
Just his future, I mean, just the vision you have for him.
Oh, I think, having been around, you never know. I mean, I don't run an NFL team, but everybody wants to, when they start talking about, like, questions you're asking me, where do you see this going? I see him having a great career at Miami and continue to get better. And then he certainly has the ability to make a living doing this.
You guys lost Corey Flagg early in the game. I know he's kind of the point guard for you on that defense. Just how did you kind of fill in for him, and what's the plan going forward?
Not kind of a point guard. He's quarterback. He's another guy like Cam Kitchens that puts a lot of time in it, studies it, doesn't just know what we're doing, but knows what they're doing. The other guys can do it. They're just a little quieter, just personality-wise they are. He's more vocal. Those other guys will step up. You know, I've seen guys before where one guy was kind of the lead dog, and then something happened and somebody just stepped up and took his place. That's what we expect. I think that'll happen. You know, sometimes you don't talk when somebody else is in the room because they talk real well. Does that make sense? You know, I've seen some talkative people get real quiet when they get around somebody that's more talkative than them. And so, but they step up when they need to. And so hopefully that'll happen. We're working on it. We got them in a room right now in their break working on quarterbacking things, which we've done all year, but it's got to happen now. That one, boy, I hate it for him. What a good young man that has given us everything he's had. Yeah.
Leonard Taylor, he's probably giving you more spectacular than just about anybody on defense other than maybe Cam. I'm assuming you would like to see it more consistently. What's the next step for him?
I put Mez in that category too. You know, just he knows that's a hard way to make a living where he's at. It's a hard way to make a living. I mean, there's some big men in those trenches. And so a young guy that's as talented as he is, it's just a growth process. It's a maturing process, you know. And I got exposed to that early in my career, actually my first year. You know, now when I say the name, you're going to say, whoa. And I'm not saying he's that. I'm just comparing the same things. You know, I saw Reggie White when he was a freshman. He wasn't Reggie White that got the gold jacket, although you knew this guy is different. He's special. You know, you see that. Again, I don't want anybody writing that I said Leonard was Reggie White. That's for the future to determine. What I'm saying is, when you're in the line of scrimmage and you're as young as he is, okay, it's a slower development. It is, because that's hard work. He's getting better at playing with better pad leverage. He's getting better at playing with his hands. The last 2 weeks, huge jump in that area. And I think you're just going to keep seeing him getting better and better and better at what he does, because he is a talented young man with a lot of power.
Because you've done this for a little while, so
Yeah.
what have you learned about the psychology when you go, and again, not making a comparison, but when you tell a kid like Leonard, I see little bits of Reggie White in
I didn't.
No. When you mentioned them in the same paragraph, when you want to inspire any player,
Right.
and say, you're reminiscent in some way of another.
Of the same type of
Of the same
process.
type, yes.
Process.
How do you get them to hear that and not hear, I'm that guy?
Well, they're going to hear that they're that guy because they got enough people telling them that other places. I think you just, you know, Coach Johnson, I don't get the quote exactly right, but you know the quote, go look it up, about you treat him a man, the end result is you treat him as you want him to be, then he will become that. I think there's a lot of truth to that. You know, I've had to remake myself in coaching. I mean, there's been a lot of things changed since 1980, a lot. And one of the things that has changed is that back in the old days, you know, you could stay after people all day, 24/7, and all the way through every game. And that's just the way it happened, and the guys just went. It's not that way any longer, and I'm just being honest with you. You've got to look for the positive, and you've got to be in the corrections. You've got to correct a certain way. And so just stay as positive with him and just stay relentless with it. Just stay relentless with it, of painting the vision for him. Show him on tape. Show him others doing it. Show him Derek Brown at Auburn when he was a freshman. Show it Derek Brown the last game before he got picked the third player in the draft. So he can see what can happen.
Your eyes go light up a little bit as a coach when you see those kids, and it is probably rare now, who you don't have to always be positive. They can take what we used to call coaching, you know, they call it
Just coach them all. Treat them all the same, coach them all different. Treat them all the same, coach them all different. Because they got personalities just like us. You know, what motivates you, different than him. I mean, it just the way it is. You know, my two children, completely different. One of them got a head like concrete, and one of them you could talk to with your eyes. The girl's the one with the head like concrete, which was foreign to me because I've always been in a locker room around guys and all that. So, yeah.
Chuck, how big is Abinaconda kid for Pittsburgh, the running back for him?
Excuse me?
The running back of Pitt, just, I don't even know how to pronounce his last name, so I'm not going to try again. But
I'll help you there. I'll help you. When I was a young GA, Coach Majors asked me to tell him about a running back, and I called his name. I said, "You mean so-and-so?" And he said, "Look, I'm not trying to get to know the guy. I just want to know his number. So you're okay." Now, if he was on our team, you need to know his name. But, yeah, very talented, strong runner, great vision, gets the ball a lot. I mean, they feed him. You know, one of the marks of a great running back, if you want to find where the real ones are, look at how many times they feed him. How many times do they feed the ball to him? You know, I was on a team one time that had Barry Sanders and Thurman Thomas in the same backfield. Is there any doubt who got the ball? Well, good players at running back, they get a lot of carries. And they feed him the ball a lot, and he is a talented player. Good.
We're good.
Happy Thanksgiving.